Welcome to another History Creators Quickie Training module. Hi, I'm Ian Bosler. Since 2004, I've been on a mission to disrupt the traditional publishing industry and remove all the BS authors have to put up with. These Quickie Training modules will help you build the solid foundations needed to market and sell your books. In this module, I'll be diving into the marketing pyramid. Now, we all know the pyramids in Egypt. They've been around for donkey's years, thousands actually. However, they would not still be existing if they weren't built on solid foundations. That is very important for not just a building, but it's very important for your marketing. Just like your house is also built on solid foundations. Just imagine if they weren't there, your house will come tumbling down. Well, in fact, you probably wouldn't even be able to build it without it. But one of the things that I see a lot of with not just authors, but this is business people, small businesses particularly, they don't understand the foundations needed to build a marketing engine in their business or a marketing engine around their book. You get this right and your book sales will start to flow. Don't do it. Don't get it right. It'll never happen. We often see people starting at the wrong end. Basically, their marketing is arse up. They're out there chasing shiny baubles. Let's put something up on Facebook. Let's put something up on Insta. Let's just blast it out there. Well, if you don't have the basics in place, you're totally wasting your time and your money. Because I can guarantee it just will not work. But do it right, get the foundations right, and you're away. Now, in this module, I'm going to be sharing with you a concept that I've developed called the marketing pyramid. Now, you may very well have heard of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is a pyramid shape, triangular shape model. Now, I don't want you to confuse what we're going through here with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow's hierarchy is very much designed to understand consumer behavior, and it's very much a theoretical model used by marketing students particularly so that they can build an understanding on how consumers behave. You do not need to worry about that when it comes to marketing and selling books as an author. You've got enough to worry about without diving into consumer behavior. It'll just confuse you and add complexity where it's not needed. So what we're doing here is coming down to a very, very practical approach to building a marketing engine around your book. Okay. Now, when I look at the marketing pyramid, I look at it in 3 layers. This is all you need to worry about, just 3 different layers. The first one is the foundations, and we're going to dive into each of these layers in a minute. So the foundations first, then from those foundations you build up some systems, and then you start to look at media. And when I talk about media, is it Facebook, Instagram, web, print, there's so many different types of media out there nowadays. But that's the last thing you worry about, is the media, not the first. Okay. So when we look at the foundations, we're now starting to look at what we call the strategy piece with marketing. Getting these foundations right is vital. Getting the strategy right is vital. Once you do that, everything else is easy, but also everything else is tactical. This is where the rubber hits the road. So you put the effort into the strategy, and that strategy, you can maintain that strategy for years to come. The tactical, you're constantly tweaking, changing, modifying, testing around that tactical side of things. You may eventually come back and look at strategy and refine strategy. But strategy is a thing that you build and do once, whereas the tactical, that's the day-to-day activities that you do. That's the systems and that's the media. Okay. Now let's look at the foundations piece. Foundations are all about the person or your target audience. So this is where we start to analyze and understand who your target audience is. That's what you really need to get a good grip on. So you hear things like in this area here, like avatars. So that's an avatar is a very detailed description of that one ideal client. It's understanding how they live and breathe, where they hang out, what sort of issues they're trying to resolve, what sort of aspirations they have for their lives. Get all of that mapped out, and you're getting a good picture of your target audience. We also look at things like the USP, or your unique selling proposition, or some people call it the hook, or the unique value proposition. They all basically mean the same, just different words saying the same thing. And what we're talking about here is why that target market would want to buy your book, or why would they want to get that value that you have, that knowledge you have, or if it's a fiction book, that entertainment that you deliver. So getting understanding a bit of their motivations here is where we talk about the USP, the unique value propositions. So, and we also start to look at, it's the places where they hang out, who else they connect with. So what we call promotional partners. And promotional partners tend to be people or organizations that are communicating to your target audience, or already connected to your target audience, with either a complementary or even a totally different non-competitive product. Now, with authors, it's really hard to have a competitor with a book. Everybody comes from a different angle. Everybody's story is different. So competitors and competitor analysis is not a really big issue when it comes to being an author. It's different if you're selling products and services, but for authoring, it's not such an issue. But once we have this good understanding of our target audience, we have that all mapped out. It just makes it easier to communicate to your team, whether that's your own internal team or whether you're using third parties or you're gathering influences around you to help deliver your message. Having a clear common understanding of those foundational elements is very, very important to communicate that to your team. Once we get through there, we now start to look at systems. Now, systems are, they can be technology based. Here we talk about things like customer relationship management systems or databases. Now, don't glaze over if you're a technophobe. Technology doesn't have to be anything more than a pen and paper for some people. It can be, you can run a database off a spreadsheet if all you're doing is authoring. If you're starting to build your book as part of a bigger business picture, if you're a coach or a consultant, well, then this technology-enabled systems become much more important. And they're a great tool to manage the process of taking a potential customer through to being actually paying customer. And then we follow up with to become a repeat customer, so that for example, your next book, or if you're part of a coaching or consulting business, to transition from just buying your book to buying your services. Or if you've got through all of that, bought your book, but you also can then use some technology to help them refer clients to you, other readers to you. But you can also use technology to help automate the driving of getting reviews for your book. Now, getting reviews really do help sell your book. It's part of the marketing process where people get social proof, looking for social proof that this book is going to deliver value, that this book is worthwhile buying. And they look at those reviews. So reviews are important, and you can use technology to drive those. But if you don't have the technology, if you're just doing something simple, you can get by with just some simple tech that most people have on their laptops, their desktops, or even their mobile phones. So you don't really need to go overboard to start with. But as you get bigger and you start to evolve, and let's say you get 1,000 sold, your first 1,000 books, and you've got 1,000 people in your database, then you really need to start thinking about automating it and putting some technology systems in place. Okay. Then the next area we look at is the media. So the media is where people, your target audience, basically consume content. So that's where you go to deliver your message. Okay, so, in days gone by, that could have been, people put ads in newspapers, magazines, put posters up in shop windows. It could be you going around speaking from stage. It could be doing book signings. It could be doing book launches. It could be building a social media following. Okay, so the media where you go to is where your target audience hangs out. So if they gravitate to Facebook, that's where you spend your time. If it's Instagram, again, your time you spend there. So every audience is different. You need to work out which is where your audience hangs out. And that way you can deliver your messages through that channel. And you see, this is what we mean. It's a very tactical thing, getting into the media point. You don't start with that. So many people say, oh, well, I've got, 5,000 Facebook followers, so I'm just going to do Facebook stuff. Well, if you haven't done the foundations, you haven't got a process in place, you're wasting your time just hitting Facebook. And the other thing you've got to be mindful of too is that the media landscape is just being disrupted all the time. It's shifting. Where people consume their content shifts over time as they progress. Some people want to move on to the latest social media platforms. Some people don't want to touch social media at all. So, and what also happens is that certain social media platforms, and as with any other media platforms, not just social media, they can change their rules. So you could have lots of different, you could have good following, you could have good processes and sales happening out of a certain media channel. They change the rules, and then you've lost control. It'll stop working immediately. And that's where we start to talk about building multiple channels or media channels. But from a start point as an author, you start with one and then you build multiples. We end up calling what we call 7 pillars as the standard that we look at in the marketing terms, getting 7 channels or 7 pillars of marketing going. But there's no point starting with 7. You start with 1, get that working, and then start to look for the second and the third and the fourth, and so on. Once you start doing that and you've got multiple pillars up and running, you're then totally in control of your marketing. If one pillar makes a change, it's not going to hurt you. You'll quickly recover because your other pillars will hold the business up or hold your book sales up and going for you. Okay, well, that's it for today's Saturday Live. It's giving you an idea and an overview of this marketing pyramid. And hopefully you're going to walk away now and start to think about your foundations. Now, in coming Saturday secrets training modules, in coming modules, I'm going to dive into the foundational elements of it. We're going to start to break that down somewhat because that's so important. I really can't stress that enough. It's more important than any of the others. If you don't get that right, the rest of it just does not work. It does not matter. Okay, so that's it for me. Have a great Saturday. Have a great week. And we'll check you out next time. Bye for now.